This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but rocking a beautiful celebratory Toronto Christmas background behind me. Because, I'm one of these, here we are on December the 6th, 2024. I'm one of these cats that likes to, I hear people argue about Die Hard being a Christmas movie. Well, you know what? I'm going to make that argument about Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut, because technically speaking, I would argue that's a Christmas movie too. Not overly cheerful, but I saw that movie in theaters and I love it to this day. I got the Blu-ray right here. Yes, I remember sitting there enjoying that and I loved it. And like majority of Kubrick's movies, whether it be 2001: A Space Odyssey, Doctor Strangelove, A Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket, you name it, The Shining, Kubrick does a lot of masterpieces. And Eyes Wide Shut, I'd label that as one as well. Well, folks, I have a lovely guest on the show with me today who played an important part, the part of Mandy in Eyes Wide Shut. Folks, I give you the absolutely lovely, and on here for her second time, Julienne Davis. How do you do, Julienne?
Hi, nice to see you.
Is it
Thank you
Julienne or
for having me.
Julianne?
It's Julienne.
Julienne,
Like
okay.
like it's French, Julienne.
Oh, because I know it's the E there, not the A,
Yeah,
so I just wanted to make sure I was
exactly.
pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of North Americans don't pronounce it well, unless you're French, in which case they do. Yeah.
Well, I had you on here. I think it was 2017. I think it was. I think it was. And
Okay.
I think that was when it was, somewhere in there. And you was in the UK at the time, so you were
Okay.
ahead of me. Now you were 4 hours ahead of me there. Now you're 4 hours behind me. I don't know whether I'm that good at shape. How did I get 4 hours ahead of you? What brought you back to the States, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, there was a number of things. I mean, there were things going on in the UK that I guess I could say my husband and I didn't like the direction the UK was headed. Um, there was a lot more crime in London.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all of that, and some of the protestings, and yeah, it was just it was a direction we didn't want to see up close and personal anymore.
You know what? I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah, and then the second reason was, well, I mean, I don't know which one was the more important reason, but I had just finished an album with my band Sophisticated Savage, and I was looking for a manager. I found a different, and I was looking for a manager in the UK, but I ended up finding a manager in the States here in Los Angeles, convinced me to come out here, promised me the world, said, oh, we're going to get you a great deal with a well-funded indie, blah, blah, blah. But I loved making music, and so that was a big push to come here. And then the other reason was the weather. I'm from here originally, and not that I was really looking forward to coming home, quote unquote, per se, but I I just was at the point where I couldn't take the cold, dark, and raining anymore. I was getting seasonal affective disorder, and I just couldn't take it. I needed the sun. I just needed to be back in the sun. Yeah.
Well, I laugh at you folks in California. You know why? Because
Because you're in Canada where it's like, whoa, cold.
I'm not just in Canada, I'm in New Brunswick. It's colder here than in Toronto. And let me tell you, I got guests I've still talked to that I'm friends with, I talk to on a regular basis out of California, and they'll say, "Oh, it's 60 degrees, it's chilly." And I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah.
When we get off the plane in California at 60 degrees, we're wearing shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah. I
I
know.
hear those stories.
Yep. Yep. And it's a beautiful sunny day today. It's probably going to be a high of 70. So yeah, and you know what? After 20 years in Europe, every winter here, I don't take it for granted. I'm still so grateful that I can go outside and garden and hike and hang out by the pool if I want to in the middle of winter. I'm still like, isn't this wonderful? Yeah. So I'm still not sick of the weather here yet.
Well, before we get to Eyes Wide Shut, I was reading up a little bit on you, and um, I find it funny. I lived in my childhood home for 47 and a half years. You know, I just didn't get moved out. I worked. I wasn't one of these ones that lived in the basement and didn't do anything. But I worked. My father just said, if you need a place to stay, you can always stay here. And now I'm living on my own. But I thought it funny you left home at quite a young age to
I
pursue.
did very young. Yeah.
Yeah, and that must have been did you have any trepidation in that, any fear in doing that, or were you just somebody that was just
Let me put it this
okay?
way. When
Yeah.
I was 5 years old and my parents we would stay on the beach for like a month. We had a little Airstream trailer and, so I would walk up to complete strangers and say, "Hi, my name's Julie and I'm 5." Okay, so that just should tell you everything about me. It's like, if it was new or interesting or something different, I was like, let's go, let's do it, let's try, And so, no, I mean, I wasn't trepidatious about that move at all. I was just pure excitement. Yeah.
And
So, and I mean, with everywhere that I've lived, I mean, I've lived in many countries around, mostly in Europe, but I spent a bit of time in Thailand and spent months in Japan, in Tokyo. And yeah, I'm so grateful for all that. I'm so grateful for all those travels. And at no point did I feel, um, I don't know, trepidatious or anxious about going there. I was just always excited. It's like a new adventure, seeing new things, meeting new people. Yeah. And that's the way I've been. I mean, I'm a serious people person. So yeah,
it's funny because I've lived here my whole life, and I would get homesick just going one city over. It wasn't until I was invited by a Canadian actress to assist her at a convention, horror film convention in Toronto, that I even left here at all. And it was interesting because I fell in love with Toronto and I never felt any homesick. And so badly that I want to move there at some point if I
right.
can make that work.
Well, you know what? I mean, don't let your don't let change make you afraid. Just, you do it and then you adapt. It's like just go for it. I mean, that's what I would say. If there's something burning in you to want to get out and do something, then do it. Make it happen.
Yeah,
I mean, I when I compare my life to most of my classmates, for instance, in high school, I've had a pretty interesting life up to now. I really have. And I mean, I'm not going to pat myself on the back for it, but I'm just saying that, the fact that I was always very positive and excited to experience new things and everything, that helped me to have the life that I have, And
absolutely.
yeah, so I'm really grateful for that.
And you did modeling,
Yeah.
but you wanted to get into ballet, and I guess they said you were too tall, you know?
Well, so when I started dancing, or actually when I was at the point when I had gone to New York, I was there studying with a really renowned teacher and stuff. And I probably would have had to spend a couple more years of, really hard study, but I was already too tall. When I graduated high school, I was 5'6 3/4, and the cutoff is 5'6 for the corps de ballet. And so I already knew that it was going to be an uphill struggle. But the thing is that I got taller after I moved to New York. I grew another inch. basically. And so at that point I thought, okay, well, I would either have to be fantastic to basically waltz into a company and start as a soloist, or I'd have to go as a soloist to, a lesser ballet company, maybe that didn't have as high standards and that didn't work um, all year, right? And when I looked at that prospect, I thought, okay, so what? I'm going to be dancing with, I don't know, the Denver Ballet or the Cleveland Ballet or something like that. And they only do, I don't know, 2 seasons, the Easter season and the Christmas season. And I'd be looking at, Nutcracker and Cinderella again and again. And then what would I do for the rest of my time? And I just thought, I don't, I either wanted to do it all or nothing. And so, faced with that reality, I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting out, and I left, and I tried to go to classes and stuff after that, but I couldn't take it seriously because I knew I wasn't pushing for a goal. And ballet is hard. It's very hard,
Hmm.
and the dedication is intense. And when you're not dedicating yourself to the same degree, you start getting less good. And then you start getting frustrated with how much worse you've gotten. And then I just thought, I can't do this anymore, and I just completely got out. I don't take classes, nothing. I just got out.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then I started modeling. So I was a little bit short for modeling, so I lied up a 1/4 inch to 5'8". And at one point I even lied up to 5'9", but that was a bit too much. So, but it was a great career. I started modeling in, oh geez, early 80s. I'm giving away my age here, but I've come
Actually,
forward with my,
you're a little over a year younger than me.
I don't know about that because
I
if
was
you've
I
checked
was
recently,
I was born July 8th, 1972.
okay, well, let me announce this to you because I did announce it on my social media.
Okay.
Um, in 2023, September 26th, which is my birthday.
You turned
Um,
39.
nope, I turned, well, let's see, this last birthday, I turned 61. I am 61. I'm not 51. So when I
Oh, it
turned,
says on
so when I turned, I know, when I turned 60, on September 26th of 2023, because it was a milestone, I thought, okay, time to come clean. And I've been lying all these years.
Oh
And the thing
man.
is, yeah. So the thing is, in the entertainment industry, when you're a model or an actor or in music or whatever, it is all of those industries are incredibly ageist.
Yes,
And
they
so
are.
for as long as I could get away with what I could get away with, I thought, I'm gonna just continue lying.
You still
So,
look better than I do.
oh, thank you. You don't look bad. Come on, look, I I I have a theory about that. It's that every day you look at yourself in the mirror and if you think you look crap that day or whatever, you think, this is the youngest I will ever be today, right? Because each day you're getting older regardless.
Oh,
So
my cat don't care as long as
be
I give her treats.
thankful, be thankful for the life you have and for the youngest age that you are right now. Right? And that's my attitude. And the reason why I decided to come out and tell the truth about how old I was is when you get to be my age, frankly, you just kind of say, screw it. I don't have anything to prove. I
Mhm.
don't feel like, even my lying age was the wrong side of 40, right? So when I turned 50, which was really 60, I thought, what am I doing this for? It's just dumb. So yeah, so I came clean. I mean, obviously there, it's all out there that I was the other age, so it might take a while for everybody to catch up. I mean, I'm not going to go to every website or whatever that lists my age and change it. If somebody else wants to do it, fine.
Hmm.
But I announced it and people know, and I'm cool with it. I'm
Should
fine
be,
with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
What you went into singing. Now, what's the name of your band? What Savages?
Well, that band, the band at the time was called Sophisticated Savage.
What an
And
interesting name.
yeah. Well, we kind of took it from, we were really influenced by the lounge and tiki scene. And there's a an album cover. Oh my gosh, I hope I don't get this wrong. Um, it's really bad. I'm trying to remember. I think it's by Les Baxter, and he
Mhm.
had an album cover called Sophisticated Savage, and I just thought that was just a genius kind of juxtaposition of a name, and so we took that on. Yeah.
So, have you been singing since you were like five? You said.
No, not at all. No, no, no. I mean, I started singing um when I moved to the UK. I met my now husband in 1990, who's he's a well-known DJ and a producer and whatever. And I started singing then, and really I was pretty crap then. But I knew that at the time, being a model, people were going to take the piss about like, oh yeah, she can't sing. And so I worked hard. I made sure that I could sing, that I could really sing. And so I did that album. I've done a number of singles with various other, bands and whatever. And then I did another album, not album, sorry, I did another bunch of tracks with a guy out here that I finally found that, we had a good simpatico musically under the banner, The Midnight Candy. I did a couple tracks with them. And I'm just going to announce this now because again, I don't care anymore. I also did a whole other album, completely incognito. Um, and the reason I went completely incognito on that is, again, the whole ageism thing, because the music industry of all of them is the worst of all. So I wore a mask, I wore a wig, and that album or that character is called Phaedra Vie, which is VIE, which is life, sort of like the life of Phaedra. And I mean, it's a long story why I chose Phaedra, but anyway, I don't know if people are that interested. But if they're interested in listening to my last album, it's called Phaedra V, and the name of the album is called Dark Days in LA.
Okay. Well, you
Yeah,
know what? I certainly understand your argument because women in particular have it hard in the entertainment industry. Like, I mean, we still got Meryl Streep, Diane Keaton, Helen Mirren, and you may have a few others,
yeah.
but it doesn't do the same thing to males. Males will
No.
get older and you still see them, you
Yeah,
know.
and some actresses, God bless them. I mean, some actresses, they manage to reach a certain level at a certain point of time, and they were good enough as an actor to continue on, through their age and all of that. For me, um, as I started, geez, my computer's doing some really funny things. I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Let me just clear
Everything's
this.
fine on this end.
Oh, I know. Sorry. Um, so for me, I had a number of things happen after Eyes Wide Shut, a number of films and TV and whatever. And then I made the mistake of moving to Los Angeles, and my career kind of died after that. I don't think America in general receives me in the same way as the UK did. I'm very grateful to my time in the UK. They don't they don't prejudge you in the UK. They don't try to put you in a category in the UK. They just they just look at you for the person that you are, and they kind of ask, "Do we like you? Yes, we like you. We'll book you." And that goes for everything. I mean, that went for modeling and also for acting. And so, the good part of my career obviously was when I was in the UK. And coming here, yeah, I never managed to get the network of people that I needed in order to really get myself in front of the right people. I just didn't have it. I don't, and I still don't. The last film I did, though, which maybe your viewers might be interested in, we shot it in 2021. It was kind of still a bit locked down. Was it?
Hmm.
Was it 2021? Yeah, it was kind of still just coming out of the lockdown. I think we shot it summer of 2021. It was shot on a micro budget with me and two acquaintances, and we put it out through the festivals. I ended up the film itself won 5 awards, and two of those awards were for Best Actress,
Hmm.
and I was the lead in it, and so I carried the film. I was in every scene, and I'm really proud of that film. It's possibly going to be the last thing I do, but we'll see. You know, but I'm super proud of that film. It's called Fear Frequency, and it is
Okay,
a
yeah, I just got it
yeah,
up here. Yeah.
it's available on Google Play, on YouTube, pay-per-view, and also on Amazon Prime. So if anybody wants to see me again, that's where to see me. I'm able to do a lot more than, what I was able to do on Eyes Wide Shut, even though Eyes Wide Shut is the thing that's how everybody knows me.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of Eyes Wide Shut, I saw that again in the theater back in 1999. That was a great year for movies. I think for my memory, I was an avid moviegoer, like at the theater, from about 1996 to now, where I just independently was just going a lot. In 1999 was one of my greatest years for movies. So many great movies come out. And I remember seeing Eyes Wide Shut in the theater. And yeah, what do you think? 25 years, that movie.
I can't. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible how time flies, and it's incredible also. There's something about how Stanley makes films that every year that you watch it, um, it reveals something different to you.
Hmm.
It's kind of like an onion, There's just more and more layers to that film. I mean, how I view it today is entirely different from how I viewed it when I first saw it. And that is a real testament to a fucking great filmmaker. Pardon my French.
Yeah,
But I
well,
mean, my gosh, really amazing filmmaker. And, and that's why I wanted to do it. I actually auditioned for an extra role, just to be one of the girls, in the mask and the G-string. And I wouldn't normally have even auditioned to be an extra. But the thing is, it was a Kubrick film, and I was already a huge Kubrick fan.
and his first
So
film in 12 years, too.
that what?
That was his first film in 12 years, too.
Yeah. Well, because Stanley takes his time in researching and writing and rewriting. And I mean, that man, he was impressive. Has an impressive brain. And it took 12 years because he needed it to take 12 years, if that makes sense. That's
Mhm.
my opinion, obviously, but that's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about did you audition for it? Talk about your
Yeah.
impression first meeting him.
I did the audition. Basically, it was for Leon Vitali. And basically, I had to walk into the audition and I basically had to strip down to a G-string and high heels. And, and I did a lot of body stuff before then. I mean, most models, if you're a fashion model, there comes a point where you're really not shy anymore. It's not really about, being half naked or whatever. It's like, you just kind of see your body as another outfit. Or, if you're doing a show, you're running back to your rack to get into your next change, and you're already, basically pretty much starkers by the time you get back to your rack. You just don't care. So, for people that are thinking, oh my God, she auditioned and she was topless in a G-string, it's like, whatever. I wasn't doing anything tacky or trashy. I was just, standing there, and, he gave me a few directions of, I don't know, thoughts I should have in my head or whatever. And that was it. And then I went on with my day, did a couple other auditions. And then my agent called me and they said, well, Stanley's seen the tapes and he wants to call you in to meet him. So I'm like, okay, well, fantastic. So car picks me up, takes me to Pinewood. I sit down in his corner office at Pinewood, and we have a good long chat. I think my opener was I was talking about how I was impressed with what he did, obviously, with 2001. And I said specifically, when the the astronauts were outside, outside the vehicle or whatever, that there was no sound, that all you heard was the sound of breathing. But at no point did you hear the sound of engines or anything like that, like you did in Star Wars, which is basically like a Disney film. Mm-hmm. And I said, I told him that my father worked for Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is an offshoot of NASA, the whole NASA Caltech thing. And my father had explained at the time, he said, that was spot on, because when there's no atmosphere, there's no sound. And Stanley was impressed that I knew that. And so, it started off a conversation that was just a little bit more, I guess, cerebral than, just your typical silly model going, hi, and I'd like to think that maybe that intrigued him a little bit, that he knew I wasn't a stupid person. And I found out many, many years later, actually, that Warner Brothers didn't want me. Warner Brothers was pushing for a more well-known model, or, a more well-known person, like a supermodel. Like, I think Ava Herzgova was up for it at some point, but she didn't want to do it because of the nudity. But I guess Stanley pushed for me and said, nope, I want Julienne, and that's it. And so after I met him, I then did 2 screen tests. I worked with Leon a bit, and I had already done some acting previous in Los Angeles and had a number of acting classes. And I wasn't Meryl Streep, but at the time I knew what I was doing. And then after those 2 screen tests, I then got the call and I got the part. So I'm very grateful to Stanley for pushing for me, because I was a working model. I wasn't a supermodel. And he did pluck me from obscurity, pretty much, and so I'm appreciative of that. I mean, it definitely changed my life.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Leon the guy, that the head guy in the mask and the cult?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
He passed not too long ago, didn't he?
I know. I'd heard. I
love the voice.
I'm actually surprised that he. This is a really bad thing to say, but I'm just going to say it. I'm surprised that he lived as long as he did, because when he was working for Stanley, I mean, the man was so stressed. Like, the stress level that Leon had was off the frickin' chart. And also he used to smoke roll-ups. Like, he used to chain smoke roll-ups. And we're talking like, nicotine fingers and nicotine teeth. And I mean, we're like serious smoker. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know how he managed to live as long as he did. I don't know what he died of, but he did not treat his body well. I'll say that. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. I like that commanding, ominous voice he had when he spoke.
Yeah, he had an excellent voice. He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, you play Mandy, and of course, we first see you when Tom Cruise as Dr. Bill, as he and Nicole Kidman, his wife Alice, are at this big fancy party. One of the things this movie reminds me of is if I drive by any neighborhood that's got big, big mansions in it, it's like you got to wonder what is going on,
It's true.
especially people with a lot of money,
Yeah.
what they do to abuse people.
Yeah.
And and I often question, um, I bet you, and this is just my theory, that everybody that was at that party at the Christmas party at the beginning of the film, I bet you all of them, if not most of them, were ones behind the mask at that cult.
I would
I'm,
imagine so. Yeah.
uh, I'm assuming that.
Yeah. I'd imagine
But
so.
yeah, and of course, uh, Tom Cruise gets called up there, and there's Sidney Pollack and
And
uh,
there I am, completely naked.
completely. Now, were you nervous about doing that, or was
So,
or
it was funny. I was completely ready, had my robe on. I had some lingerie on for some reason because I knew that we'd have to take it off. But the stylist gave me lingerie to wear. And I knew we were going to go on set any minute, but then they called me into Stanley's office again. So I walk into Stanley's office, and there's Sydney and Tom and Stanley. And we introduced ourselves, and we had a couple minutes of just completely inane chat. And there was a pause, and I just said, "So Stanley, is the reason why you called me in here is because I'm going to be starkers in front of these guys in a minute?" And he said, "Basically, yeah." And I said, "Okay, fine, I'm good with it. Let's go." It's like, so yeah, I mean, I knew what I needed to do, I mean, I knew I needed to do it. I signed up for it. I'm like, okay, let's just do this. And then, but I will say that when they yelled cut, I'm like, road, please, because I just didn't want to be like that, all the time. So, yeah, so I did. And Tom was very respectful that way. If I didn't ask for the robe, he'd ask for it for me. So that was nice.
I've heard a story about Tom Cruise. I interviewed Francine Locke from Risky Business, who was the woman in the dream sequence in the shower at the beginning of it. And
Right.
she was saying the shower was being pulled to give it that effect.
Oh,
She said the water was quite cold. And she said between probably the last take or something like that, Tom Cruise, who was fully clothed, got in the shower with her. But he didn't do it to be perverse. He did it so that he would get cold and wet as well.
oh.
You know?
Yeah, that sounds like a Tom move. I mean,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed working with him. We got on really well. We were just super chatty and just like all the time. Stanley would get frustrated with us. It's like, can you guys stop talking now so we can shoot this thing?
Right.
Yeah, it was great. And I appreciate Tom because the level of star that he is, he could have had a stand-in when the camera turned around on me, but he didn't. He was there doing everything. He really is a consummate actor, such a professional. He loves acting. He loves the art of storytelling. He's professional, respectful, a great actor, um, friendly, nice, not an egotist that I could see. I thoroughly enjoyed working with him.
I've
And
heard
actually, I wasn't impressed with. Yeah, I remember when I met Leon, they said, "Well, this is starring Tom Cruise," and I'm like, "So." I didn't
I've
really
heard good
care,
things. I've heard
but
good things about Tom as well.
yeah. But I mean, the reason why I wanted to do it or even audition as an extra half naked was because it was Stanley.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I literally said that to Leon. I'm like, I don't care about Tom. I just wanted to work with Stanley possibly, you know. Yeah, I really enjoyed working with him. I mean, I doubt very much that I would have another opportunity to work with him again. But if I did have that opportunity, I wouldn't turn it down, put it that way.
Hmm.
He's lovely. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because early on, Harvey Keitel was supposed to play the Sidney Pollack role,
Yeah.
and Jennifer Jason Leigh. I wish she was
Yeah.
still in the film because I love Jennifer Jason Leigh, but she was supposed to play the woman whose father
Yeah.
had passed away.
Yeah.
But she had shot all of her stuff, but she couldn't do the reshoots because of she was doing the Existin for David Cronenberg. So um, I love Jennifer Jason Leigh. I would have liked to
Yeah.
see
She's
her back
great.
again.
I
Yeah,
agree. She's excellent. Yeah.
yeah.
What a
But
career. Yeah, I would very much like to have had her career. That would have been good. Yeah.
but you mean you were up there too with Sidney Pollack. Now he's also a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Um, Tootsie and so many other
Yeah.
things. What was it like witnessing, Kubrick and Sidney Pollack? Of course, Sidney Pollack is acting in this, but he's also got a director's mind as well. Was
Yeah.
there any collaboration there going back and forth on them on
Well,
that?
actually, the collaboration, I mean, on the latter part of the bathroom scene, I call it the second part of the bathroom scene. We rewrote that whole thing. At one point, I said to Stanley, I kind of was thinking out loud. I said, I feel like I want to say this or I want to do this. And Stanley said, yeah, okay, do that. And then when I said that, Sydney said, well, if she's going to do that, maybe I should do this. And Stan said, yeah, let's try that. And then Tom would say, well, if they're going to do that, then why don't I do this? And basically Tom, Sydney, and me rewrote that scene. And the script lady just, rewrote everything on the spot. Stanley approved it. We were good to go. So yeah. And not to take credit, but I kind of started that off. Um, the thing is that my attitude, here I was, total unknown, plucked from obscurity. That could play with your head, right?
Mhm.
You could just be like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of these mega stars, and you could just be terrified and think, okay, I'm just going to do the minimum amount, do what I've been asked, and that's it. I've never had that attitude. They're all people and they're all creative, and I'm a creative. And I just looked at it like we're all here, we're all trying to create this thing. Let's just do our jobs and offer what we can as artists. And so I didn't think of myself as, this lowly, unknown kind of, inconsequential person. Not that I was egotistical about it either. I wasn't. It wasn't that. It was just, let's make this as good as it can be. Let's make this how it's, feels real and felt right. And I think we all four of us had that same attitude, like, let's work this thing, let's make this scene great, let's do what we can to just make it work for all of us, obviously with Stanley's final approval.
Mhm.
And that's what we did. And yeah, that was great. It was great to be able to do that. And at the time, my attitude, I wasn't afraid to do that. I just went for it.
Was that a real place or was that a set?
Set. That was
Okay.
at Pinewood. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say one thing about Eyes Wide Shut, the is when you look at the first half of the film and then he goes back to the same places in the second half, it's interesting how things are kind of flipped in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like he helps you when you're almost gone, and then you're in a position where you gotta help him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's a parallel too, because Vanessa Shaw plays a prostitute in it. And what we don't know until the second half is that she had AIDS.
Yeah.
But but
She
Tom
was
Cruise,
lovely, by the way. I met her at the premiere. And I thought she was very nice, friendly, down to
I
earth.
would love to
Yeah.
have her on here, but what I liked about that is Tom Cruise did not go through with things with her, but he paid her anyway. I love that little moment where I want to pay you anyway. And he put some money in her hand, you know?
Yeah.
And then when you hear about when he meets the other woman there in the second half, is like, I heard what you did for her. That was really nice, and I thought that was really cool. Um, and you get these reversals, like what was going on in the costume place with the daughter and the whatnot. And then at the second half, when he goes back, it's like, he's like bewildered, like, I'm sorry, what happened? He's everything's kind of like switched. It's very dreamlike, and I heard Eyes Wide Shut can go like when Nicole Kidman says, we're awake now, and that was kind of like that in a lot of the movie and how things
Yeah.
got flipped over. And I tell you, the mansion scene there, that when he goes to the mansion scene and Todd Fields is up there playing the piano blindfolded and whatnot. And that is just haunting. And of course, did you get to keep that mask you got to wear?
I wish. No. Mm-mm.
You had a cool
Nope.
mask.
I know. I picked it.
And I like the way you walked.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, let me correct people on this. So when I got the booking,
mhm,
Stanley said to my agent, he said that originally he had two separate people cast for Mandy and then the mysterious woman in the mask.
mhm.
And I will start by saying the mysterious woman in the mask is Mandy's character. Okay. They
Okay.
actually made up a wig of my exact hair color, and put it on another girl who what did the walking.
Oh, so it wasn't you.
So yeah. So, but let me say the reason it wasn't me, is because I had an injury. I got an injury from being in that circle and getting up and like going up from my knees, and I ended up injuring my fascia, and I think Stanley was concerned that I wouldn't be able to deliver later. And even though I assured him, he was worried about that. I mean, there's a whole bunch more to it. I've got other interviews in there where I've kind of gone into the whole thing.
Mhm.
But getting back to the mask, um, when it came time to choose the masks, Stanley, and this is before I got injured, Stanley said, go and choose a mask. And I chose that feather mask. Yeah. And so a bit later, well, you know what? It's a long story. I won't get too into it, but I ended up having a body double and she got the credit. So yeah,
So it wasn't
but it is
you.
still Mandy's. The thing is that if you look at the story in its
Mhm,
entirety, it wouldn't make sense that it wasn't Mandy.
mhm,
So regardless of whether she was called the mysterious woman, it was still Mandy's character
mhm.
because the story wouldn't have made sense. Like why would she bother trying to save him? She felt indebted because here's a woman who, obviously was really messed up on drugs. And the fact that Tom's character showed concern for me as a person, not just a
Mhm.
thing, um, really, I think, really touched her deep inside. And so she was willing to risk her life to help to save him. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made sense. She wouldn't have any reason, she would just be another girl that was hired for an orgy, right? That was hired to do what they call sex magic, sex ritual. Um, so it is my character. It just, some of those scenes, were not actually me.
So it wasn't you.
It's just,
What?
oh my God. Yeah. The
Yeah.
funny thing
So
is, if you see the scenes,
Uh-huh.
And there's a scene where you see my character with the feather mask
Uh-huh.
and Tom walking away.
Hmm.
There's another couple immediately behind them.
Yep.
That's me. That's me.
Okay.
And that was, and that honestly, that was tough for me because I was fine enough to walk and do those things, but Stanley wasn't willing to take that chance. But it was difficult, I mean, emotionally, it was hard on me, at the time, you know.
So wasn't
Um,
you warning him before the guy comes and recruits
no,
him?
although I rehearsed all those scenes, did all those scenes, but nope, they
And
used
it
her.
wasn't you up solo
Nope,
do oh, okay.
nope. Yeah,
Oh, I'm
sorry to
sorry about
disappoint, but I didn't, I mean, it's out there. That
that.
information is out there, so I figured I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
I will say that Stanley was possibly a bit pissed off with me because he wanted me to participate in the orgy scenes, like in the action of the orgy scenes,
Hmm.
and I wasn't comfortable doing that. I wasn't comfortable moving around like that, um, you know, um, either with men or with women. I just wasn't comfortable doing it. And in fact, he asked multiple times. In fact, he begged. He said, please, please, will you do this? He said, if you're worried about doing it as you don't have to be. It's just you've got the best body. He said, I want you in these scenes. And I said, look, Stanley, I'm so sorry, but I just, like, this is my line. I just don't feel comfortable doing this. And it was only a few years before I was actually sexually assaulted on the street in
I'm
London.
sorry.
And so I did feel more vulnerable than usual, especially in those scenes when you had all of those extras and the masks. I did feel very, very vulnerable. And so the idea of doing those orgy scenes and doing the action, which kind of things changed from initially, Stanley would have the group of the people that he filmed, about 12 people that he filmed in the orgy scenes. And he would have these people meet for months on end, doing a sort of like dance class rehearsal thing. So that all of these people got super duper comfortable with each other, being half naked and doing this kind of like, Stanley would say, goes, there will be no inference of, and he did this, he went, like, there would be none of this, like no thrusting sex kind of thing. He said, only the inference of sex with kind of sensual dancing.
Okay.
And so that's why he convinced me to go to one of the rehearsals. And I did. I went to one of the rehearsals and we did this. And I said, look, I don't feel comfortable doing this with a guy. I said, but I'll try it with the girls. But then everybody was watching. And I just thought I just felt really uncomfortable. If I felt okay with it, I would have done it, but I didn't. And you have to listen to your inner voice. You have to not cross your line. And so after that rehearsal, I then, said to Leon, I said, I can't do this. So anyway, so that's what happened.
Of course.
And the girl that was up for it, and the girl
Hmm.
that was in a lot of the orgy scenes, the action of the orgy scenes, was the one that was wearing the mask. So she was up for it. She was cool with it. I'm
Okay.
like, okay, fine.
And of course, the side.
I still don't regret my decision.
I
I
know what,
still
I
don't
don't
regret it.
blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah,
You know, I was
yeah.
gonna say, you are seen, and they always make it. One of the things I love about this is you don't know what really happened, but you can kind of take a guess. Even when you got Tom Cruise and Sidney Pollack around that pool table there doing that great dialogue
My
scene.
yeah, my guess is they killed her.
That's what I'm assuming too.
Yeah. And
Um,
and when I was talking to Todd Field, his guess was they killed him too. He said, I remember talking to him just outside the mansion before we were gonna, start getting ready. It was like, at the beginning of the day when it started. And I said, so what do you think happened to your character? And he said, I reckon Nick never got home to his wife and kids. And I said, yeah, I reckon that too. And I said, I think they killed me off. That was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom sees that, and again, one of these great Christmas atmosphere. I love the Christmas part. Did you
Yeah.
ever find out why it had the Christmas atmosphere in it? Like, what was the decision behind that guy? Because I really love that in this film.
It's not one of the things that I asked him.
I
So,
love that in this film because it's one of the films I'm going to be watching this Christmas season. Is Eyes Wide
right.
Shut.
But the thing is that I didn't see the entirety of the script.
Hmm.
Okay. I mean, you know, although I was the ingenue on this film, I think that Stanley was very, very secretive about who got access to the script. So I did not have access. I only saw my scenes. So I didn't know it was a Christmas film. I didn't know um, how integral my role was to the film either until after the film came out. So when when I went to the premiere, the first premiere, the one in Westwood,
Hmm.
and I got all this attention. I mean, I was in the press line for about an hour and 15 minutes with all these, video cameras and the banks of photographers, and that was like freaky. Um, I mean, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that kind of reception. But a lot of the press had seen the film before the premiere, right? I hadn't seen it. So I didn't know what to expect. Another little interesting tidbit too is that when that first scene comes up and I'm naked, slumped in the chair, the audience, which was filled with celebrities, right? They I could hear everybody go like this. I'm like, oh, it was a bit nerve-wracking. The fact that like everybody just went, they were so shocked. And I'm like, oh my God, that's me, me in this, huge screen. Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
And of course, you were on the slab there when Tom Cruise goes to the morgue. Um, I
That
think
was
we.
shot in St. Albans at a disused bacon factory. I kid you not.
Oh wow! How did? I don't know. I'd probably screw up doing this because there's stories, of course, in Psycho that when Janet Leigh they do that pan back shot, you see just a little movement of the throat when she took a breath. You know, how did you stay still without?
That was hard.
I
That was really
bet.
hard. Yeah. So they had multiple people who had eyes on me. And as Tom was moving to the side, coming this way to be, above me, basically I took a breath as he walked in and then did this and got to here. And then I said, breathe. And then, the camera kept rolling, but I breathed. And then I took a deep breath in again. And then he came over me like this, right? So it was shot in two breaths, basically, because I wasn't able to hold my breath for that long. So we thought, okay, the place to cut is once he's here, you know, that's when I took a breath. And then, yeah. So there's a really now famous shot of on set with me, Tom here, Stanley here, and I think I can't remember who the other guy was. I don't know if he was the DP or the lighting guy or whatever. Anyway, there's a really famous shot of me in profile, and I'm pointing up. And what I was doing at that time, which if people see that photo, is I was saying, well, as Tom comes over, I'm just going to be fixed on this one point so that my eyes don't flutter because when something comes into your view, you want to look at it. right? So we practiced all of this, and we practiced I mean, it was a long, arduous scene. It was hard work doing that, being dead and not breathing, and being consistent. That was hard. Yeah, it was hard.
And I know you didn't have any scenes with Nicole Kidman, but
No,
did you get to interact with her at all?
nope, not at all. Not even at the premiere. She, even at the premiere, she had just a bevy of people all around her. I mean, Tom was way more accessible than Nicole. Um, dare I say, I think Nicole is a massive diva, but it's
Oh,
just my
really?
opinion. Yeah,
Yeah, she may be up for another Oscar this year.
really?
Or
For
yeah,
what?
for Baby Doll.
Oh, okay.
Or no,
I
Baby
mean,
Girl. I don't
look,
know. I haven't
she's had
seen
an
it.
incredible career. Um, I can't slight her that. And she's had moments where she's been a really good actor,
Hmm.
but she's also had moments where she's not been good at all. One of those moments is in Eyes Wide Shut. I don't think that the moment when she was smoking a joint,
Hmm.
that was the worst acting I'd ever seen. I mean, the girl's clearly never had a joint in her freaking life because that wasn't believable for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, she's had a great career. I'll give her that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was going to ask you, switch over a little bit and ask you about House of Nine. Did you you have Dennis Hopper in that?
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, we got on like a house on fire, Dennis and me. It was really fun. It was really fun. We would have conversations about because he's a method actor.
Hmm.
And what I did, people told me later, because I'm more instinctual, I did what they call, it's more like Meisner technique. Um, Really, I just call it the mind fuck. Pardon my French.
No problem.
I just convince myself I am that person in that place with that history doing those things. And I convince myself to the point where I think I would probably pass a lie detector test, like I really believe it.
Hmm.
And so we would have these conversations because there's this one scene where I really break down in it. And I break down to the point where literally my knees were buckling underneath me, that level of breakdown. And Dennis would say to me later after that day, after those really heavy scenes, he said, damn, he said, you're really messed up from that. I'm like, well, yeah, it takes it out of me. Sure. I mean, thank God we only had to shoot that scene 2 times with me and my reaction. Because it does take me a while to recover when you have to go there emotionally. It really, really takes it out of you. And Dennis would say, he goes, yes, but you see, with me, he said, I can, touch a bit of fabric or do whatever they do in method. He said, I'm in it and then I'm out of it, just like that. And he said, and I'm not affected. He said, but see, you're affected. You're affected for the rest of the day, aren't you? And I said, yeah, I am. I said, but, I went there and it was believable, you know? And I said, so, I mean, you can use your method and obviously you're believable and, it works for you. I said, but this is working for me. So I'm going to keep doing it, you know? So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't believe 25 years, eyes wide shut.
Yeah.
I wish Kubrick got to do more films. I know he was supposed to do AI,
He
artificial
was very
intelligence.
excited about AI, I was talking to him. We were at Pinewood and he and Leon and a few other people, they were shooting or they're getting ready to shoot one of the outside scenes, the New York scene that they had built. And so I'm talking to Stanley And he was saying, yeah, my next film's going to be AI and it's this whole thing. And he started talking about it. And I said, Stanley, I said, you haven't even finished shooting this thing, let alone editing. I said, come on. He said, yeah, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And then obviously, like many people, we all went out to see AI, didn't we?
Well, Spielberg was the right guy to take it over, I think.
Okay, so I don't agree.
Okay.
I'm not a Spielberg fan. Um,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, there's only one film I really enjoy by Spielberg, and that was one of his first films. It's called Duel with Dennis
Okay.
Weaver.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why is because back then he didn't underestimate the intelligence of his audience, and he left things up to the audience to decide, which is something that Stanley does fantastically, right? Fabulously.
They're both very different filmmakers. I
They're
do
very
agree.
different
Yeah.
filmmakers. And the thing is that Spielberg, he's a filmmaker that consistently underestimates the intelligence of his audience. And he does things for pure entertainment. I see him
I
as
agree.
the
Yep.
I see him as the Andrew Lloyd Webber of the film world. Okay. So,
Okay.
I'm just not, I mean, his films are lightly entertaining, but you don't get the depth with him that you do.
With
Let me
Kubrick or
just, yeah. So
David
here's
Lynch.
here's the difference. Here's the difference.
Mhm.
Um, he's he plays at depth. He plays at it. It's like a sentimentalist version of depth. Whereas Stanley goes deeper than that to the point of um, being uncomfortable and forcing the audience to ask questions about scenes and about what they're trying, what he's trying to say with those scenes with in any of his films. And that's something that Spielberg doesn't do. And he could be capable of it, sure, but I just haven't seen it.
I think David Lynch does a lot of it, though.
Love David Lynch.
I do too.
Yep. I would
Yeah.
love to work with David Lynch. That would be
I
great.
love I love his
But
films,
then
especially the Holland.
I'd love to work
Right.
with Clint Eastwood too. I think
Oh
he's
yeah.
fabulous. Yeah.
He's
I mean,
still
there's a
working.
number of them. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah,
He's
what a
still
career.
working.
I
Yeah.
know. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lynch is great. I gotta admit, I like filmmakers like Kubrick and Alfred Hitchcock was one I really liked as
Yeah.
well. David Lynch and filmmakers like that because you gotta kind of gotta watch their films more than once.
Yeah.
You know,
We
Spielberg
just
you
watched
don't
my
necessarily.
husband and I just watched The Birds again with Tippi Hedren, and she's fabulous. I met her once. She's feisty. She's smart and feisty. I really liked her. Yeah.
I've interviewed when people passed away, I do tribute interviews, and I did one on Alfred Hitchcock. I had his granddaughter on here,
Oh,
and
nice.
she was on set for The Birds, you know?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. That was interesting. Actually, when I was at the station, uh, out of all the interviews I did, that was the one that really got me. They said, "How did you get Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter on the show?" And I said, "Twitter." It
I
wasn't
love
that
it. Twitter.
challenging. I was
Yeah.
happy she responded, and we had a great
Yeah.
chat. And I learned
Yeah.
a lot about him, what he was like,
Yeah.
But but yeah, I'm a big Kubrick fan. I've had a couple people on from Clockwork Orange. I've had somebody on from Full Metal Jacket, and had you on from Eyes Wide Shut, and
There's a theme. There's a theme. Um, if you think about it, some of the things that Stanley was trying to say
hmm
in A Clockwork Orange and Lolita and Eyes
hmm
Wide Shut, there's a similar theme all through.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's all about the establishment and what they want you to think, what they want you to believe, how they want you to behave, versus the undercurrent of what's really going on. you know?
I see that. Yep.
I mean, look at Lolita, um,
Hmm.
and the whole thing with Quilty and that whole underworld that they alluded to. But I mean, he didn't delve deeply into that, but that whole underworld, that whole Hollywood underworld with Quilty and all his other filmy, actory friends, you don't think that that was the same kind of underworld that was going on in Eyes Wide Shut with the
Yep.
with sex magic parties and sex ritual orgies? Same stuff, same thing. And I just think it's very interesting that, you Stanley would make that statement with Lolita. And, a lot of people just focused on the sort of the pedophilia aspect, I suppose, of it all. But they didn't really focus on that whole undercurrent of taking these underage, um, these underage lusty young girls like Lolita. So, because it wasn't just her, was it? It was a whole bunch of them that kind of lived together and did whatever. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with you. And I like those kind of filmmakers that you could just look into, and you got to watch their films more than once. It makes it a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm going to be watching this over the Christmas holidays here coming up. I got it on my list, and I'm looking forward to it. I love the look of the film. It reminds me why I love Toronto. I love the big city, and of course, this was beautiful to look at. Speaking of Christmas, are you ready for Christmas yet? Is Santa gonna find you?
Not quite, but we're going for it. Actually, my husband and I have been on a bender of watching Hallmark Christmas films. It's just hilarious. It's just fun, just seeing everything all Christmassy and decorating trees and hot cocoa and gingerbread cookies. And so yeah, we're gonna go for it.
You gonna
It's
go
fun.
caroling?
Oh, no, probably not, but we're
Oh, come
gonna,
on, get together
I
with
just think, I
Sophisticated
just think,
Savage.
yes, I think it's just important to enjoy the season. Yeah.
Get together with Sophisticated Savage and go caroling.
Yeah, if only. No, they're all back in England, so no.
No, what do you got any favorite Christmas movies that you watch every year?
I have one of my favorite films it's not a Christmas film, but I do love Groundhog Day. I think Groundhog Day is a
Okay.
great film. I just
Hmm.
love that film. I could watch that over and over and over again.
Well, Bill Murray was going over and over.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, sometimes
Um,
something doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas movie. Like I started out on December 1st. The first film I watched was Bridget Jones's Diary, which is not typically a Christmas movie, but it starts at Christmas and it ends at Christmas. And, I started with that, and I'm watching traditional Christmas movies, but I'm also watching Christmas horror movies too, because I
that
like a
was
lot of those.
that was a great film. I mean, I can't remember who won the best actress Oscar for that year, but Renee Zellweger. I mean,
I
the thing
agree.
is because it was a romantic comedy, it doesn't quite get the kudos, I suppose, that a drama would get. But man, being that I lived in England for such a long time, this is a woman who had an absolutely impeccable, impeccable middle class English accent. And I can tell you, look, I can do the accent. My accent's a bit more posh than that, but it's it was impressive.
Yeah.
It was impressive. She really, yeah, it was. I thought she was fantastic in that film. It was a great film.
I even put Dumb and Dumber and The
I'm so
Apartment on
sorry.
the list,
Ugh.
because they could kind of play into that too. But I watch Christmas horror movies and I watch traditional Christmas movies as well. So yeah, and Eyes Wide Shut is going to be part of my viewing for this month. So yeah. Do you have any charities or anything like that you want to plug and promote on here, or a website or anything that you want to promote on here?
Well, geez. Um, I mean, the only charity I've had going recently is my own personal Give, Send, Go. Um, I've had, I didn't even want to get into this. I'll just touch on it slightly. The last 2 years, I've been in kind of a health hell. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I have Hashimoto. Um, there's a few other things going on, and I have a Give, Send, Go page that is listed on my Instagram. If
Mhm.
somebody wants to give to that, that would be fantastic. But if they don't, that's fine too. Um,
I
I
always
would,
allow guests to promote stuff like that, you know, and
yeah. Well, it's on my main Instagram is Julienne Davis Official, and there is a link to my Give, Send, Go, and you can hear a little bit more about what I've gone through and what I'm still going through because I'm not going through any mainstream medical. So everything I'm doing, I do out of pocket. And like I go and I get high dose vitamin C intravenously and mistletoe intravenously to treat the cancer, along with various other supplements and things that I'm doing. And it does get expensive. So I do appreciate the help. But other than that, um, yeah, I mean, if people want to go and see my last film, Fear Frequency, I would love it if you saw it. And if you liked it, please give me a great review. And that would be nice, just if fans of Eyes Wide Shut wanted to see more of Julianne Davis, then that's the film to go see because you see a lot of me. Yeah.
promote it a
But
little bit on here. What's the movie about?
it's it's about a woman who is kind of in the middle of a divorce, feels really isolated, um, figuratively and literally. And there's all kinds of weird things going on in the world. And she sort of holed herself away in this house. Uh, and she kind of loses it a bit. I mean, some people think that she's schizophrenic, but she's basically dealing with some inner demons of who she is publicly versus who she is privately,
Hmm.
and what she's going through with all of this. And there's existential forces at work as well. It's quite a cerebral film. Um, and something and I have to hand it to the writer. The main writer is Tim Huddleston, and also Laura Russo. She's the director and she helped with the writing. But I have to really hand it to Tim Huddleston. He did a fantastic job because the film could be viewed as it could be construed as something political, but strangely, it doesn't choose a side. And whatever side you're on, you can see some truths in there. And I just think it's really genius how he managed to write the script without picking a side, without getting political necessarily, right?
Hmm.
So it's a really interesting film. It's compelling to watch. I'm surprised I'm saying this about myself, but it is. It's a compelling film to watch. So I recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing I should also say in regards to independent filmmaking, for your viewers to consider is that sometimes you think, oh, I don't want to see that film because it's low budget. But if a low budget film has a great storyline, then it really kind of doesn't matter if it's low budget. There's another, it's kind of a horror film called Creep, which is like way low budget, like much lower budget than we shot Fear Frequency. But it's a compelling film because it's really interesting and it was well done in that respect. A lot of times people just want to go see a big blockbuster.
You want me to tell you something interesting? I'm going to a movie tomorrow that I didn't know about until yesterday. And it's a new Trailer Park Boys movie, you know. And I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know they had a new movie coming out. And a lot of times I'll go to movies just out of curiosity because I don't know what that is. Let's look that up. And I'll watch a trailer and I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. I've done that many, many, many
That's
times,
good.
so
Well, I'm just going to say in regards to big blockbuster films, I've learned this kind of really late in the day. When we're talking about millions and millions of dollars on film production, um, you have to ask yourself, well, where do all those investors come from? And to be completely real with people, that when you have those big budgets, um, the people that invest in films, film investing is very, very risky. And so a lot of people that invest in films are trafficking money, they're laundering money. Right. Now that's a pretty intense thing to say, but it's true. So
I
people are
don't doubt it.
laundering, they're laundering money from, from guns, from trafficking, uh, from drugs, And so the big money, that's that's what you're supporting. And I wish I had known that. I probably would have spoken out about it sooner. I mean, I've spoken about it before in other interviews, but I don't like that. I don't like the idea that that my salary is from people that are, not good people. So in that respect, when it comes to indie films, when they're funding on GoFundMe or whatever, or they're mortgaging their house, or their parents are giving them money or whatever, that's more honest to me. And those passion projects can sometimes be really, really rewarding. And so for anybody who ever thinks about investing in a film, I would say consider investing in one of those small indie films, because they're not going to be the ones that are going to be getting money from drugs, guns, and people, right? From
I've
trafficking.
invested in a few independent movies. Financially, I can't anymore, but I know one I'm being watched on the television because I shot my footage here. I'm being watched on a television by Eric Roberts, and I'm like, that's pretty funny.
Wow. Yeah. Cool.
I'm like, I'll take that, you know. But no, I didn't know that. But considering some of the stuff I hear about Hollywood and stuff come out since the Weinstein thing and all that sort of stuff and Epstein and all that, it's there's a lot of seedy stuff going on.
As dark, you know what? A really well-known film writer told me this, and
Hmm.
he's spot on. He said, as dark as you think the Hollywood or the film industry is, he said, it's 1,000 times darker.
Yeah. So
And I mean, for me, if if I if I do any acting from here on out, which, I'm not, I still have my manager. So if something comes my way that I want to do, I'll consider it. But if I never do something again, then, I'm okay with that. But I don't want my money, I don't want my salary coming from a bad place. Um, and I don't really want to work with people that are part of the darkness.
I
It's
I,
not,
I
it's not what
agree
I'm
with you.
about. But just to kind of put a whole period on this thing, now today more than ever, I'm so happy that Stanley made Eyes Wide Shut, because it's such a statement
Yep.
about what really goes on, about people in elite positions of power and the things that they do. And it's something that we really should be aware of. It's like, that wasn't just a film, because that kind of thing is real and it does
Oh,
go on.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in that, the fact that he plucked me from obscurity, and that I'm in a film that has so many different layers to it. I'm so grateful. And so I hope your audience enjoyed this interview.
Well, I certainly did enjoy it, and I'm so happy to have you come back on here. So
Yeah,
this is awesome. And yeah, I'm so honored to have you on here, and I had you on my list to reach out to, and so I'm glad that you responded, and yeah, so
me too.
I work overnights as a cleaner,
Oh well.
So I was telling my coworker last night, I was on my break, I said, I just booked an interview from Eyes Wide Shut. And she didn't like the movie until I explained to her, because I asked, do you know what it was really about?
Yeah,
It was really about, and I kind of intrigued her because I took
yeah,
some film analysis class on how to
right.
read film as a cinematic practice, which you kind of got to know something about when you watch a Kubrick movie anyway. So I kind of intrigued her with what I said
Well,
because
that's good. Yeah,
yeah,
because you're right though. Some people don't like it, and that's
I
their
love it.
prerogative. Yeah,
Oh, I
but
love it.
then some of those people love Steven Spielberg. That's also their prerogative. Yeah.
Well, I think the one film I always hated was Pearl Harbor. I detest that film with a
Mm.
passion.
I couldn't even watch it.
Well, they sold it to Japan as a love story,
Right.
and you
Mm.
don't have one three-dimensional Japanese character. I hated that film with a
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
It was no Apocalypse Now, not even close.
Yeah.
So I do like a film that I can go into and I can just come out and think, have a conversation with somebody about,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
A film that
so
has some depth to it. Yeah,
I
I
love
agree.
that. Absolutely. With that note, it was wonderful having you come on here today and
You
bless
too.
me with your presence,
Thank
and I
you.
hope I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And
You too.
yeah, before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Sure. What do you want me to do?
Just state your name. And if you want to say we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Eyes Wide Shut, you may say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Gilbert.
Mm-hmm. Greg
Okay.
Gilbert on
On
Python's
Python.
Paradise.
Okay. Hi, I'm Julienne Davis, and we're talking. Sorry, let me start again. Hi, I'm Julienne Davis, and we are talking about the 25th anniversary of Eyes Wide Shut on the Greg Gilbert show called Python's Paradise. Sorry, do you want me to do that again?
Well, if you want to, I
Okay.
liked it, but yeah, if you want to.
Hi, I'm Julienne Davis, and I'm here talking about the 25th anniversary of Eyes Wide Shut on Greg Gilbert's show, Python's Paradise.
Absolutely. I've had people come on here and mess that up so many times. It's like, but you know what? It makes you look human.
Yeah,
It makes you look human. you know. So
it's all good.
yeah, all is good. And I appreciate having you come on here, and I love reading your stuff on Facebook, and we're on the same page as far as that stuff goes. And yeah, I look forward to seeing your new movie. I'm going to be searching that
Oh,
out.
good. You haven't seen it yet, so good.
No,
Well,
I
I
haven't. I have not. No,
hope you
actually,
enjoy
it's
it.
listed here on IMDb as 2022. So.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, because by the time we, edited and did everything, then yeah, we did. We put it out in 2022.
Yeah, it didn't come to our theater, so I'll have to find another way to see it. But you know
Well,
what?
maybe I think you could probably see it on Google Play or on YouTube, or do you have Amazon Prime there?
We do. I don't have Amazon Prime, but if it's on
Oh, okay.
YouTube, I could probably look it up there.
Yeah,
So
you can. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you should be able
absolutely.
to. Yeah.
Did it come out in theaters?
No, it didn't. No,
It's too
no, we
bad.
didn't do a theater release. No, the amount of money that you need to do a theater release, it's the thing is with indie filmmaking is, ideally you should probably try to spend next to nothing on making the film. Where you need to spend all of your money is on the PR. And we did not have that kind of money to spend for the PR. So, yeah.
There
Yeah,
is
it's kind
something
of a,
special about seeing a film up on the big screen, though.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Would have been nice, but it is what it is, you know. I'm thankful for being able to shoot it, and I'm thankful for being able to be a lead in a film, which is the first time I've been a lead in a film, and to be able to carry a film. And I'm super thankful that I got two Best Actress awards from the festivals. That was
Was there
really
pressure
rewarding.
about being a lead in a film?
Pressure. I I didn't I tried not to think about it.
Okay.
I just kind of took every day as it came and each scene
Mhm.
as it came, and I didn't want to kind of go into my head so much about like, oh my God, the pressure of, carrying a film. I didn't want to think that way. So
Well, I kind of like that because, like, when you said you were did the nude scene in Eyes Wide Shut, there, you just did it, and you said, yeah, I'm in this with Tom Cruise, or
yeah,
and yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I,
you
I
just
think
get
that's
on
an
with it. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting personality trait. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you
Okay.
have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year,
You
and
too.
I wish you the best. I wish you good health as well. So I hope everything
Thank
works out
you.
for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so
Absolutely.
too. All right. Take
God
care,
bless
Greg.
you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.